So the next person speaking today, I want to introduce. She's a very accomplished business professional, business owner, and in addition, founded Liberty Prep, and she's the headmaster there. So I cannot wait to hear from one of my friends. And gosh, Amie and I, we've known each other for quite some time, probably about 15 years or so, I think. But I want you to jump up on your feet again in Freedom House style and welcome Amie Weir to the platform.
Thank you. Well, I'm Amie Weir. I'm the founder and head administrator of Liberty Prep Christian Academy. And first of all, I want to commend you all, those of you who are here and who are listening online, for seeking out education for your children. That is what you're here. You're looking for answers, solutions. You don't want to be part of the problem, but you want to be part of the solution, and I appreciate you for that. Or if you're part of the community and you want to know what you can do, if you're a church leader and you want to know what you can do. Again, I am also not an expert. I am just, I guess I'm one of those mama bears who 12 years ago saw the writing on the wall of what was happening in public education and wanted a education for my daughters. They are now 16 and 18. They were probably 4 and 6, or maybe even 3 and 5 when I started looking into starting a school for my daughters. One now is graduated, is in college, and one is a senior this year. So time goes really, really fast. But I was, it was funny because I was debating at the time whether I should homeschool or find another option, looking for a Christian school in our area. And I live up in Lake Norman, and in our area, we just didn't have anything at the time. And so I thought, well, I'll just start a school. That'll be a lot easier than homeschooling, right? I don't know what I thought, why I thought that would be a good idea. And I also thought maybe I would get it started and turn it over to somebody to run it. Well, here I am 12 years later and more involved than ever. But little did I know that God was preparing us for such a time as this, right? That 12 years later, we were going to be in a situation where private school education could be a very, very important thing for today. And so I wanted to give you some perspective, and I'm just here to, talk about different options. Obviously, homeschooling is a very strong option, and I really used to not really, I would say, maybe put down public education, because I know that there are different options for everybody, but what's happened in the last several years is really difficult for me to, with a good heart, to say, yeah, that's a good option for your family if you're a Christian. And so I really feel like looking for other options, whether it be, doing different homeschool groups or, co-ops or supporting Christian education. It is wise for you to start looking for those options. I will say, from a Christian school perspective, there are a lot of Christian schools in our area. I was just doing a search yesterday in Charlotte, in Monroe, in Lake Norman, in Statesville, in all the Charlotte right here, all these different areas. There's lots and lots of Christian schools. And so one of the things from a Christian school education side of things, I would say, is do your best, if you can, to support an existing Christian school. Because inevitably, Christian schools rely on, they get their money from tuition. That's pretty much it. They don't get anything from the government, and they don't want anything from the government because that comes with strings. And so everything comes from tuition. And so the reason that they struggle is because they need more students. And there's always a struggle because they have to pay for teachers, they have to pay for facility, they have to pay for, there's so many costs that you don't even understand when you're dealing with a Christian education. And if they just had 50 or 100 more students, if there's 30 schools in the area and they all had 100 more students, that's 3,000 more kids being educated from a Christian perspective. And so let's do our best to fill those up. And then when those schools get filled up, then we need to start looking at adding more schools and expanding those schools, because it really all comes down to money. We just built a brand new facility. It's a multi-million-dollar facility. And, people started asking if we could expand. And I'm like, well, if we had another multi-million dollars, maybe we could. But so just know that, by having you support a Christian school, you're going to be able to support those schools. They'll become better schools. They'll be able to have athletics teams, theater groups, all those kinds of things. Because even right now, we have to actually participate with other schools that are not Christian. And so when we go to another school and we see they're kneeling at the national anthem in front of our kids, that's something that we had to deal with. But if we had our schools full, our Christian schools full, and we could have our own sports leagues, that wouldn't happen. And so just think about that as you're trying to decide what, what might be a good option for you. You may not even know that there's something called the North Carolina Opportunity Scholarship. Look that up. It is a school choice program where it is no strings attached, but if you have a certain income level, you can apply for that, and it gives up to $4,200 to go to a private school. So if you didn't know that was an option out there, check that out, because that might be something that you might be able to participate in. What can churches do? Churches can promote Christian education. I know when we were starting the school and we would try to get churches to promote Christian education, they were so afraid of alienating their congregation of those that went to public schools. Well, there's a way to do it where you're not alienating your congregation, but let's support the Christian schools, provide scholarships so those families can go to schools, do fundraisers for Christian schools to be able to help them expand and do those different things. Provide places for homeschool families to meet. Now, I know there's a cost associated with that, and so homeschool families may need to realize that, there are costs for cleanup and for electricity and all the things that go along with that. So, one of the things we have to realize as Christians is everything's not free. And I think we want to just go into things and say, oh, you should give us this because it's for Christians, and we should have a free education as Christians, and it's not free. And so we have to get that mindset of, if we want to pay for this education, we need to be able to support that financially as well. And it is a sacrifice. A lot of our families that come to school, they do sacrifice to be able to do that. They work out their budget so that they can provide that education. It's something that's more important to them eternally, and what their students and who their students are surrounded by. And realize too, a lot of times people will call us and they'll get mad at us because we can't immediately enroll them in school. We actually most Christian schools have an application process, because we want families that are like-minded and have the same values and are going to support the same causes and missions. And so it's not so much of a, hey, just come in and sign up, but we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your family. Another big need, if there's someone who does feel called to do this, is a Christian school for students with special needs and learning disabilities. That is something that is greatly needed in our community. If there's someone that is feeling called to do that, we would love to partner with a Christian school that can provide those opportunities for students, because right now the best resources for that are usually in the public school system. And that's, we want to, and I know so many families come and call us, but that's a whole another ball game. It takes special educators, again, finances, all of that to do that. But that is a great need in our community. If you are, maybe you're a grandparent, maybe you're a business owner who has extra time, volunteer at Christian schools. Come in and teach a class. Teach an elective or a special or something, do an evening course for students so that they can get to know them. Help with sports, theater, and extracurriculars. Christian schools are always looking for people that are qualified to be able to do those kinds of things. There's definitely opportunities for the community to get involved, and just promote the schools, get to know them. I'd love us to become very kingdom-minded as the Christian school community. I know there can be a little bit of a competition. The Benham brothers, their kids go to another school that we play them in volleyball and different sports and everything. And sometimes, we want to make sure that we're filling our school, but we also want to fill their school too. And so we want to make sure that we're promoting. If we're not the right fit for you, we want to help you find another Christian school that is the right fit. So we're not here to be in competition. We're here to support the community. And so I'm just here as a resource from private Christian education, from a mama bear who just didn't really know what I was doing when I got started, but just went down the path of letting the Lord lead me of what's next and what's next and what's next. And now here we are with a kind of a Christian education revolution, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you so much for letting me share today, and I'll be here to answer questions if you have any afterwards.